Okay, guys, so here we are now to talk about Venom: The Last Dance with full spoilers. The film's been out for a couple days now. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out because it's one of those that like some people are really loving it, some people are really hating it. Most people are kind of in between. But like if you like the first two, you should probably go see it. It's really one of those movies you kind of just need to see and decide for yourself. So yeah, go check that out. I do have a non-spoiler review on the channel already, so you can watch that as well. But yeah, let's talk spoilers for Venom: The Last Dance. Starting off with just a few quick couple things, kind of not super important, like the whole Venom turning into animals thing. It was cool, but it was so quick. It was like the whole horse thing was basically in the trailer. You saw him as a frog for a second. He turned into a fish for like 2 seconds, and that was it. All of which we already knew about. It is cool in the credits when they show like still images of Venom as different animals, like a rabbit and a shark and a whole bunch of different stuff like that. That was cool. I'm surprised they're not making merchandise out of this stuff because I figured that was kind of the whole point, especially because it is such a small part of the film. But whatever. We also have Reese Ifans as Martin and his hippie family in this film. Which I remember for the longest time, we're like, oh my god, is he playing Kurt Connors? Is this connected to the Amazing Spider-Man? I wish, but no, it's very different from that. And actually, I really like this storyline. Some people say it was kind of unnecessary and boring, but I just really love how wholesome this family was. And they really helped with the journey of Eddie and Venom's character. I think it was a nice little bonding experience. I enjoyed that. But into some of the more comic booky stuff and some of the more disappointing stuff, we have the return of Patrick Mulligan. Of course, Stephen Graham playing Patrick Mulligan was introduced in Venom: Let There Be Carnage, and at the end of that film, he bonded with a symbiote, which in the comics he becomes Toxin. I I mean, people are calling him Toxin in this film, but I don't really even know if this is because this looks nothing like Toxin in the comics. Toxin in the comics is red with a green tongue, because Toxin is the son of Carnage. So, don't really know if this is supposed to be Toxin, just a different color. That's kind of the hard thing to figure out with the symbiotes in this film. Is like you change the color, is it the same character? Is it not? I don't really know. But I guess I'll call him Toxin. To be fair, they did say that like the first symbiote he was bonded with didn't survive or something like that. So they like bonded a bunch of other different symbiotes with him. So Toxin's green now, I guess. And like I will say, Toxin was really cool though. I love how he was kind of like slithering and like floating around the room. Like I don't know why I didn't have legs, but it was cool. I liked the look of it. It was really fun. I just wish there was more for this character in the movie because like you basically get like maybe 3 scenes with this character. Like 1 to 2 scenes of him actually in full symbiote mode, and then he just dies. And that was it. So slightly disappointing, but definitely I think one of the cooler looking symbiotes of the film. And this does lead to getting basically a montage of a bunch of different symbiotes, which I do think was my favorite part of the film. Just from a like comic book fan perspective, getting to see the Life Foundation symbiotes and all of them on display. The only weird thing about it is most of them were just kind of random. I feel like none of these were taken from the comics, which again was weird. Like you have this character right here, the scientist, which I don't really know why they kept emphasizing the Christmas pin that she had. It was very random. Like I thought there would be some meaning for it, but there wasn't. They never explained it. But she does end up bonding with a symbiote, which this I guess we could call Lasher because this looks more like Lasher in the comics. Sure, it's a female version of the character, but is more green with more of the long tendrils and the sharp points and all that stuff. So it was really cool. I really enjoyed Lasher in this film. And I guess kind of the Christmas element was like Lasher was green but with kind of red veins. So there's some Christmassy stuff going on there. So that was cool. Lasher was great. I believe this is maybe Phage. And then there's a blue one, which I don't think there even is a blue one in the comics. But Then there's also this white one, which I was really confused by because I was like, is this supposed to be AntiVenom? But then also, like, they wouldn't waste AntiVenom. Well, it's Sony. They probably would. I don't know. But it was cool just to see, like, a rainbow of different symbiotes on display, even if most of them are not from the comics. But yeah, I think Lasher was probably the coolest one. Besides Agony, Agony was really cool. I loved her design. Wish we just saw it for, like, more than 2 seconds. And as I kind of hinted at in my non-spoiler review, Juno Temple's character in this, Dr. Payne, I I don't really get the point of her flashbacks. Like, I understand it now, but like the whole lightning thing, Agony never had that in the comics, so there was really no point at all to add that in here. Um, it was really unnecessary. Yeah, I just wish we got more of Agony in this film because she looks really cool. Like, it's a really cool design. I love that color of purple. But yeah, there just wasn't much done with it. That's my biggest complaint with this film is like there's a lot going on, but it feels like most of the stuff that happens are just such small moments, or there's a lot of characters that feel by the end of the film kind of unsatisfied, like their story was pointless or it didn't go anywhere, um, or it was just there for the sake of being there. So yeah, there's that. And also my biggest question here is, okay, if you're gonna do a montage of a bunch of symbiotes, why no Scream? Like, outside of Venom and Carnage, Scream is probably the most popular symbiote in the comics. I mean, she was just in the recent Spider-Man PS5 video game. Why was she not here? I figured this whole time that Juno Temple, if she's going to become a symbiote, it would be Scream. Um, Especially because, like, we didn't have any other yellow symbiotes here, so I didn't really get why Scream was missing. Maybe, like, oh, they're saving her for something bigger. I doubt it, because we're not getting another Venom film, and yeah, so I don't really know. Would have been cool to see Scream, but maybe we'll see her somewhere down the line, somewhere else, I guess. Um, I will say also the third act finale, the big final battle was just very underwhelming because like Knull is the main villain of the film but also isn't, because like he never actually is face to face with Venom. The final battle is just with these xenophages, which like yeah, they were a big threat and everything, but it did because they were just mindless creatures and hunters. It just felt underwhelming because it's like, okay, he's just fighting henchmen basically. Um and this is how Venom dies. Um yeah, this I don't hate this ending. I'm cool with it, especially because it is the last dance. They wanted to end the trilogy. Um I thought it was a cool little sacrifice, and it actually kind of did tug at the heartstrings after rewatching the first two Venom films the past couple days before watching The Last Dance. It was slightly emotional, seeing the death of Venom, him going out with that heroic sacrifice. I thought that was pretty cool, and then the little montage at the end of the memories and Eddie being alone, like him waking up in the hospital bed and just being like, "Hey, buddy, you won't believe it. I had this crazy dream." Like, buddy, and just Venom not being there. That was kind of sad, honestly. But I don't think it's the end of Venom, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But like I said, we have Knull in this film, kind of just sprinkled throughout. Andy Serkis does the voice. Knull says so little in this movie that I couldn't even tell. And also, there's two post-credit scenes in this movie. The first one is focused on Knull, and it does basically set him up that, like, he will be back, and, like, oh, he's the King in Black, and all this stuff. And, like, yeah, Knull's a big villain in the comics, so it is cool that they're setting him up for more, but I just don't know what they're trying to do with him, because this is the last Venom movie, and like kind of his main tie is to Venom and the symbiotes. Most of the symbiotes were just slaughtered in this film. Like literally pretty much all we have left is Agony. And then if Scream is out there somewhere. But yeah. Obviously we've been talking about for a bit now. Is this maybe what they're gonna do with Spider-Man 4? Which of course was just officially announced by Tom Holland on Jimmy Fallon's talk show, and It's got an official release date of July 2026, where Tom Holland also has a film from Christopher Nolan coming out literally the weekend before. But yeah, especially with how this movie comes out between the two Avengers films, a lot of people have been saying it's probably going to take place on Battleworld. And as much as we want a grounded Spider-Man and Daredevil team-up story, it's probably going to be a multiverse film. Which, at this point, okay, sure, just go for it, just do the King in Black stuff. But now scoopers are going back on that and saying, like, oh, I don't know if Knull's going to show up. Like, where else is he going to be the villain? Like, what else do you have left of this Sony universe to team up in a big crossover event? You got Madam Web, Morbius, and Kraven the Hunter. Are any of them going to stand a chance? I doubt it. I doubt Dakota Johnson will even reprise her role as Madam Web. She was so unhappy on that press tour. She's not coming back. Yeah, so I don't know when or where Knull is coming back, but I guess he's coming back at some point. And then our second post-credit scene is with our Mexican bartender from the post-credit scene of Spider-Man No Way Home, who appeared again at the beginning of this film. And I'm just going to call him Danny Rojas because I just know him from Ted Lasso and I love him in that show. Yeah, he was taken prisoner at Area 51, and then now at the end of the film when Area 51 has been destroyed and like everyone's dead and all the symbiotes are dead, he's just running out of there. And then the shot ends on this little cockroach that looks to be black. So my theory here is that this is Venom, that Venom somehow survived and he is now living on this cockroach. So I do think it is very possible that Venom will rebond with Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock, potentially in a Secret Wars or Spider-Man 4, whatever it may be. But yeah, so I don't think it's the end of Eddie and Venom, but at least for this trilogy it is. And yeah, I don't hate this movie. I enjoyed it. I had fun with it. But there's just a lot of questions of like, why did this happen? Why wasn't this there? Why was that there? Why was this there so little? Yeah, there's just a lot of questions that I have. But overall, I mean, I had fun with it. It was a good time. And yeah. So anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about Venom The Last Dance? What do you think these post-credit scenes mean? Do you think Venom's alive? Where do you think Knull is going to show up next? And what was your favorite symbiote that showed up in this film? So thanks for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep you up to date on everything that goes on in the Marvel life.